Alright guys, welcome to today's tutorial. My name is Chibikim and today we'll be discussing about identity column. So what is an identity column? In other database, we can refer to this as auto increment, and for us to better understand what this is, let's flip into SQL Server Management Studio for a better explanation. So let's go back to the tables we created in the previous tutorial. So from this record, we can see that before now, we have been manually inserting this ID. And what did we say? We say this ID is a primary key and it is used to uniquely identify a record in a table. That was what we discussed uh, in the previous tutorials we've had. So we have been initially providing these values manually, but with auto increment or identity column, we will allow the database to do that for us because ideally or in real life, 9 out of 10 times, these records will be coming from a web application or an application in your organization. So the whoever will be inputting this data will not manually give an ID to that record. So that will be done at the database level. So let's see how we can set this. Let's create another table and let's call this id again, and this will be int. The data type will be int and we will not accept null. Let's call this name and varchar. I will call this, will give you the value of 50 and it will be null. So in order for us to make this id column an identity column, we will select that column and we'll come to the identity specification in this column properties. I'll click on the identity specification. For now, by default, you see it's set to no. So we'll drop down this and I'll set this to yes. Now notice this identity increment and the seed column will be populated once I select yes. So now what is the meaning of this um, identity increment? Now this is by what number do you want these values to be incremented with, and the seed is what do you want it to start with. For instance, if I want the record to start with 1000 or 100 and the identity increment is 2, whenever I insert a record, the first record ID will be 100, the second one will be 102, the third one will be 104, just like that. But in real life, it's always increment by 1 and the seed is also 1. So we will leave it we'll leave it at this default. And we'll set this to be primary key. To set it to primary key, which we had discussed in the previous tutorial, we'll right click and click set to primary key. So we are done with this table. I will right click and save table, and I'll call this table person underscore tbl. I'll save. So now this has been saved. Let's refresh to ensure the table was created. Yeah, that's it. Person under tbl was created. So now let's insert into this table. I'll create a new query window and I'll type insert into person underscore tbl values, and I'll provide a value just for the name alone. Now notice that I didn't provide any value for the ID. Now I'll execute. Now that has been inserted. So again, let me select, retrieve the value, select all from person underscore tbl. So when I execute this, you notice that it gave it 1 by default. If I insert another record, John Doe. I insert this. Notice and select all again. You notice that the value is 2. Let me do the third one, James Mark, and I'll select and then retrieve it again. You notice that the value is 3. That is because this value has been configured or set to be an identity column with a seed of 1 and increment of 1. So it started with 1 and it's incrementing by 1. So now let's see what happens if we try to explicitly provide a value for this record and see what happens. Let's say, for instance, I try to set to provide the value for the ID column. It will throw an error which tells us that in order for us to explicitly or manually insert a value for an identity column, we have to specify the column list and also specify a use identity insert. What does this mean? Let me copy this for us to have a clear view of it so we can read the error. It said now, an explicit value for the identity column in the table TBI can only be specified when a column list is used and identity insert is on. So how do we do this? So for us to do this, I'll click on set. Let me copy this. Set identity insert. Where are we setting it? The person underscore TBL, and I'll speak on. So once I do this now and I'll execute, now that has been successfully set. So with this now, sorry about that, I can insert the next value, which I'm providing as 4. And remember, if I try to do this now, it will still throw an error for me because we have not done everything yet. It said we need to add a column list. So how do we add a column list? Is this we'll have to provide the columns we want to insert into tbl underscore person underscore tbl. Then we'll provide the column list, which is a id and a name, hope id name. I hope I'm getting the syntax right. Okay, so it went through. So let's select all again. We see that that value went through. Let me insert another one. Let me see John Matthew. We'll do this as 5. I will insert this. It accepted it, and when I execute, we see that it accepted the 5th column. So now let's see again what happens if we try to insert a value to see if the auto increment will work. So insert into person underscore tbl, and then I remove this, the column, the explicit value. When I try to insert, we still have an error which is telling us specifically that we must provide explicitly because the identity insert is on. So in order for us to do this, we have to turn this off. With the syntax set identity insert, tbl person underscore tbl off, and then I'll execute this. It's turned off. So with this now, I can insert this value, and then I'll have the sixth value, which is this. So we'll continue with this in the next video shortly. So that'll be it for this. My name is Chibuike Mukafo. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and also hit the bell icon so that you get notified whenever I upload a new video. Thank you.